Hi, Seamus. Hi, good boy. So in front of you guys, now maybe you guys will be able to help me, because before my friend Hannah starts talking to you about being a keeper and looking after the guys, I set a bit of a task because it is St. Patrick's Day today. So I'd have to talk loudly over the chimps.
Yeah.
Because Kiko's just been told off by Buxom, so he's not very happy.
John.
But because it's St. Patrick's Day, David and Nicole were asking me, did we have any primates that had come from Ireland? And actually, we don't have anyone who's come from Ireland. But I said that perhaps we might be able to find some who had a bit of a link to Ireland. Nicole, did you find out any names?
Yes.
About any of them? What did you find out?
But maybe was the Siamang gibbons.
Yeah, so we've got a Siamang gibbon. So that was Sam. I think it was Sam who came from Dublin.
Yeah,
absolutely
Sam.
Right. Well done. And there's someone in here that he isn't actually Irish, but he's got an Irish name. So that's why me and Hannah have decided to come over here. And we actually got a little bit of a glimpse of him a moment ago, but hopefully in a second when Hannah kind of comes over and starts chatting to you guys and the chimps, you might come over and say hi. In this group, we have a chimp called Seamus. So we thought that's one of the most Irish people we can show you at Monkey World. In fact, this is him just coming towards us. But let me just fiddle a second with my screen.
Okay.
Because I just want, there we go, that's a bit better. So I tell you what, if I
looks like Daniel.
So this is Seamus just here. But I tell you what, I'm going to swap places with Hannah and I'll introduce her properly to you.
Okay.
And we can have a chat about these guys properly. And I know you guys have got some questions for her as well. So this is Hannah. Hannah, how long have you worked with us at Monkey World?
I've worked at Monkey World for about 4 years now. So I used to be one of the keepers that looks after the chimps and the woolly monkeys. So I know these guys very, very well. Seamus here is definitely probably the naughtiest one in this group. So if you like naughty chimps, Seamus is the one for you.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
There you go, here he is.
Like to come and say hello. He likes to be in the centre of attention. And at the moment, he's eating some pellets, so he's got some snacks on him at the moment.
And what's the pellet, Hannah?
The pellet is basically crushed down plants and leaves and all sorts of browse that they would eat out in the wild that don't grow here in the UK. So they get it in the form of a pellet. It looks a bit like a dog biscuit that you would give to your dogs or your cats back home, which I would think is the reason why they love it so much, because it's nice and crunchy, like a biscuit. You can't see because he's got his hands closed, but he's actually got a whole load in one of his hands. So that's usually what they'll do. They'll go around
we can have a look
and pick all the individual pellets up, and then they'll hoard a big pile of them to go and sit somewhere safe, away from all the other boys that might want to pinch some.
And so,
which looks like Freddie wanted to pinch some of Seamus's pellet there. This is Fred.
There you go, this is Freddie. Nice of you just turning away for a second there. Now, these guys know Hannah really, really well because she's worked with them for 4 years. But when someone like me, who works in education, comes over, they do think it's quite good fun to try and take the mickey a little bit. And so throw some mud at you. That's it. Freddie just thought he'd kind of put me through my paces and try and throw some mud at me there. But luckily, although I don't work with these guys like Hannah has, you do still get used to some of those signs and know when to turn your back. And Freddie is a bit of a one for doing things like that.
Luckily that time it was just mud.
Yeah, that's it. Freddie can be a little bit cheeky and throw some things a little bit worse than mud sometimes. Now, guys, I know you had some questions that you wanted to ask one of our keepers. What is it that you wanted to know?
Was it but any of the famous like TV Fiona?
So I said that one. Say it again for me, Nicole.
Well, was many of the being famous in Spain or that?
This chimp that's just come out is Charlie.
Yeah.
He's throwing biscuits at us, but he actually was quite famous over in Turkey He was actually used in the entertainment trade where he was on a TV show.
Oh,
So actually, that was a really good. What's in you, Charlie?
So that noise that he's making, Hannah, what's that noise?
So he's just letting us know that this is his area, it's his territory, it's his house, and we're a little bit closer than we normally are, so he might be a little bit nervous. So he's just giving us a warning that maybe this might be close enough.
Excellent. So there you go, Nicole. It was really good timing that we did have one of our chimps who was, so more famous before they came to Monkey World. What other questions have you got for Hannah?
Hard to think of them all on the spot, isn't it?
So well, I remember that one of the things that David emails me was, I know that you guys wanted to know what's the best thing about being a keeper at Monkey World.
It's got to
I got one.
be making friends and making bonds with the animals. You can't beat it. Sometimes they're even nicer than people, and the special relationships we get with them are just, they make our job so worthwhile and fulfilling. So that's definitely the best part of being a keeper.
Amazing.
I've got one.
Go for it.
Did they like the snow when it came down?
Well, the snow. It's interesting because the chimps, they'll typically go, if it has snowed and there's lots of snow out in their enclosure on the ground and on the platforms, they usually run out, grab a handful, but then they run back inside because it's too cold for them to be out. But they do like to eat the snow, so they'll definitely make like a big snowball and take it inside.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
How warm is it inside the houses, Hannah?
Inside, it's usually about 23 to 25 degrees. So when we have a very nice summer's day in August, it's like that for them all the time inside. So if it's a colder day, they definitely will like to snuggle inside where it's nice and warm, and they'll spend more time inside than outside.
Yeah.
Who's grandma and granddad and uncle and auntie?
So these guys in here, not many of them are actually related. A lot of them were actually Spanish beach photographers' props, so they're actually completely unrelated. We have a couple of accidents that have happened at Monkey World. For example, Seamus is the son of one of the chimps here that unfortunately wasn't able to look after him, so he was actually hand reared. But apart from him, he's probably the only relative here at the park. The rest of them are very close friends.
Okay, thank you.
And so does anyone in the group, maybe who's a little bit older, does anyone kind of look after anyone else, or are they a little bit more independent than we are?
So with the boys, it's a little bit different because there's no females in here, so they don't really have a motherly figure. But I would say there's a couple in here that like to look out for people. Butch used to actually be the dominant male of this group before Paco. And Butch is a lot older than Paco. He's quite political, he's quite caring, and he does kind of oversee everything and make sure that everyone's okay. So even though they might not have that initial family member in the group, they definitely still have someone a bit older, a bit wiser, looking out for them like a family member would.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's really.
How many do you have in the cage with them? Are they male and female, or just all male?
So this group is all male, and so there are 11 bachelor boys in this group, but we have over 50 chimps in total, spread across 4 different groups. But this group that we're next to now is just full of boys, and the other 3 groups are mixed with girls and boys.
Excellent. Should we go a little bit over that way, Hannah, so we can see the guys a bit better now they've moved?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
What music do they like?
You say, what music do they like?
Yes.
There you go, Hannah. That's a good one. What do they like? Music? Do you guys listen to the radio inside the house?
They're not particular fans of our type of music. I think it sounds a bit different to the sounds that they'd like to hear. But quite often they'll make their own sort of music. Charlie, who we met earlier, who used to be a famous TV star, he'll quite often clap or stamp his feet and get excited when he sees his keepers. He quite likes to make sounds with sticks against the metal in the house. So I think they prefer to make their own music, to be honest.
Well, that's good.
There you go. Chimp music rather than person music.
Yeah.
No Spice Girls then.
No Spice Girls for these guys.
No.
I expect some of the keepers do sing as they're doing their work though, so they probably do hear some music from people as well.
Why are these 3 chimps by themselves?
So Hannah can explain why it
Yeah,
is.
So we've got a couple of lower rankers here in the group. So all the big boys, they're out getting the scatter feed out in the sunshine. But these guys have kind of just seen Jasmine here and they think, oh, we'll just go and get our little spoonful here. So they're kind of the last in the pecking order to get the food. And so they're just getting a little bit extra to make sure that they've had their portion as well. So that's why they're sitting here with one of their keepers.
And so if you can see, guys, so this is a tunnel and there's and it comes into that big enclosure there, and then it comes back this way and it goes inside the house. So it's a way that they get in and out. But some of the chimps really like sitting in it, don't they, Hannah? It's one of the places they really enjoy. They'll take their bedding, make a bit of a nest in there. And particularly I'm so pleased, guys, because it's so warm and sunny. I haven't had such a lovely day to come out into the park for so long. So you guys have picked the right day.
Have we going
But
to the
Who's that monkey by that?
That is Charlie, who we met a bit earlier. So he used to have his own TV show.
Oh,
So I think we've seen Charlie before on some of our other tours. So I'm zooming in because remember when we've talked about these guys and they are very strong, they are very dangerous. So I've got to be careful about how close I can go because they're very strong, thin fingers can get through the gaps in the mesh. But also, like when we came over and Charlie made that noise at us, that's also him reminding us that this is their home and we have to be respectful. But because we've got this special permission to come a little bit closer than we normally do today, I think we're still getting a really nice close-up view. And you might be able to just about see in his hand that he's got all of those pellets, those biscuity things that Hannah was telling us about, just all clutched in his hand. Because like Hannah was saying, Jasmine there was giving Charlie and a couple of the other boys a bit extra food because where they are lower down, they don't always get to grab quite so much when all the food's scattered in. And yeah, all the big tough boys get in there first. So have you guys got any other questions for Hannah?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can we go? Can you take us to the Challenge Annika house, or the one that they did in Challenge Annika?
This is actually it.
Oh,
So,
that's it. Wow.
Yeah, this is actually it. If I stand back a little bit, so
wow.
It's got this kind of tent kind of like roof, and actually this is the we call it the pavilion, the building that was built on that Challenge Annika program. You can actually find it. I don't know if you guys already have. On YouTube, you can actually find the whole episode, which is really, really cool because there's actually some of the chimps who are still here. You follow their journey of coming from Spain over to Monkey World, where Annika Rice and the team are building this exact house. But it's changed a little bit in recent years. So this tunnel that's in front of us, it's more new. I see the bit at the back with the red roof. That's a newer section as well that's been built on because this was built with Annika Rice in, I think it was like 1996. So of course we are now in 2023. And so a few years ago, we just needed to make the space a bit bigger because we have a lot more chimps now than we used to when we did in the mid 90s. And so the bit at the back has got more space for them in their bedrooms. We've got a fabulous new kitchen. And so it works really well for the keepers to prep all of these guys food. Pardon?
They can cook then, can they? Because they've got a kitchen.
Yeah, well, so there's a tiny bit of cooking that happens, isn't there, Hannah? But it's a lot of fruit and veg chopping, really, isn't it?
I wish they did cook their own food, but no, that's mostly down to us. So it's just helpful having the kitchen in the house so that we don't have to lug, large pallets of food back and forth from where it gets delivered down to the house. So we just drive it on the buggy straight to the house, and then we just have a giant walk-in fridge that we can just walk into, take out what we need for the day and chop it there and then. So it makes it nice and easy. But yeah, unfortunately the chimps aren't allowed in that kitchen area, I'm afraid. I think they would make a big mess, wouldn't they, Charlie?
There will be a big mess.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be much food left by the end of it.
No.
And so what kind of food do you guys as keepers, what sort of things do you use the most of when you're looking after these guys?
Definitely vegetables is probably the biggest thing we use. Out in the wild, they would eat a fair amount of fruit. But obviously the fruit that grows on trees in Africa is a lot different to the fruit that we can source here in the UK. The fruit that we get delivered here is very high in sugar. So we actually have to give them less fruit than they would eat out in the wild. But luckily for them, a lot of our root vegetables actually have the same amounts of sugars and minerals and things that they would eat out in the wild in their fruit. So things like carrots and parsnips, actually very sweet and tasty. So they actually don't know that they're missing out on all this fruit, and it makes sure that we can keep them nice and healthy, make sure that they're not getting too much sugar, which can cause diabetes and bad teeth and other health problems as well.
Do you have the same problem that we have, a shortage of food?
The
You know,
same
'cause
issue that we
You
have.
get most of your food from abroad, or is it UK?
Yeah, we also have quite a good relationship with like local grocers and local supermarkets as well.
Okay.
So you know, we are lucky to get discounted rates on foods. We've also had generous donations from places like Tesco or Co-op, that have quite a lot of food that may be reaching its sell-by date.
Yeah.
And instead of wasting it, they donate it to us, which is really helpful and definitely keeps our shopping bill down. So yeah.
I work for
Yeah.
Co-op. I work for Co-op.
You
You
work.
work at, there you go.
Excellent. There you go. Co-op are great. They're really, really helpful. They give us a lot of donations. Yeah, there's one, not too far away, in Andover, and they're absolutely fantastic. They'll often call us when they've got stuff that can't, like Hannah said, it's coming up to that date where they can't sell it, can't use it. And it's great because then we get, depends what it is. It might be loads and loads of salad leaves, it might be loads of carrots, but it's great. Though I think it's probably a bit of hard work for you guys, Hannah, that then you have to chop and change their menus around for the next few days.
Yeah, sometimes we do, but then we can save time in other ways. For example, the chimps, sometimes if things come in packaging, like, if we get donated a load of strawberries in the summer and they come in their plastic punnets, luckily, because the chimps are so strong and clever, we don't have to spend ages taking all the lids off and emptying them into a bowl. We can just chuck the punnets out, and it just gives them something extra to do as well, because they have to open the packaging themselves to get to the nice tasty treat. So you kind of win some, lose some with that one, I think.
So what food do you get from abroad?
We have all sorts. So yeah, like I said, the majority we get is the root vegetables, so things from swede, carrots, parsnips, but we also use a lot of leafy vegetables like iceberg lettuce, spinach, leek, we have celery. So literally whatever you can think of, you name it, we can get it for these guys. We like to change it up quite often as well, so they're not getting exactly the same meal every single day. Just like us, if we was to eat the same meal every day, it would get a bit boring after a while. So we definitely like to try and give them a different variety of different things. And just like us going to the supermarket, it depends what's in season, what time of year it is. So sometimes that can change the different fruit and vegetables that we get in as well.
Are they vegetarians?
Are they vegetarians?
They are mostly. In the wild, they do eat a little bit of meat, but rather because it's not so much that they're craving to eat meat, it's more of a bonding activity. So they will go out and hunt smaller mammals, sometimes even smaller primates, like small monkeys, for example. But luckily, mostly it's just rodents. But they do it more as to bond together as a group, particularly the boys in the group. So they do get a little bit of cooked chicken each week to sort of supplement that. But that is probably less than 10% of their diet. The rest is all fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. Do they drink hot drinks and that?
They do sometimes. Recently, when we had that really, really cold weather,
Yeah.
a lot of our chimps actually had quite sore throats, like small coughs, runny noses. And we actually made them a very large batch of honey, lemon and ginger drink, which they absolutely loved. And it just helped soothe their throat. So yeah, they definitely are a fan of hot drinks, especially in the winter, I would say. So yeah, so they can have it a bit hot, obviously not too hot because we don't want them to burn their tongues. Yeah, definitely, especially if they're feeling a bit poorly, we will give them a hot drink of lemon and honey and ginger, just to kind of make them feel a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. These are awesome questions, guys. Anything else you want to know from our chimp expert while we're here?
I don't know. I'm just trying to think.
So, well, I've got a good question, because I know it's one of the things that people ask us quite a lot is, do they have favorite foods?
Oh yes, definitely. Pretty much anything fruit, anything that involves fruit is definitely their favourite. Just like us, we prefer something that's nice and sweet. I would definitely rather eat a nice yummy strawberry rather than a sprout. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I think I like something sweeter. I do like sprouts, but I tend to like them cooked with bacon and things like that. So there's a bit more to them. And I know one of the other questions that I think these guys have asked me before is because people often see videos of chimps eating bananas. So firstly, do we feed our chimps bananas?
Yeah, we do. So they do have a few bananas in their diet. We much prefer to give them plantain, which is a less sweet version of the typical banana that you get in the supermarket. But they're definitely allowed a bit, but probably not as much as you see in the cartoons and the TV shows, because again, they're very high in sugar, and we couldn't just give them too many bananas. But yes, they do get it in their diet.
Well, I've got one.
Go for it.
What monkey lives in the Amazon rainforest?
So the monkeys we've got here, probably the most well known in the Amazon rainforest, is our woolly monkeys. We have quite a few woolly monkeys here at Monkey World, and various callitrichids like marmosets and tamarins that live here at Monkey World as well. And they would come from South America out in the wild.
Oh,
I've got another one for you as well.
Excellent. Keep going.
Can a monkey climb a banana tree?
Oh, you're stumping us that. Well,
That's a trick question.
I suppose banana trees, they haven't got as big trunks as some other trees. They've got a lot of leaves. I think maybe depending on how big it was, a chimp might find it hard because a chimp might be too big and too heavy. But there's definitely some smaller monkeys who definitely, I think they'd be able to get up it.
Yeah.
We've got some trees around here called monkey puzzle trees that people have given us and we've planted. The reason they're called monkey puzzle trees is they're covered in these little kind of spiky hard leaves. And the reason they're called it is because people think it would be hard even for a monkey who's really, really good at climbing to climb one. I think there's one nearby. I'll try and show you in a moment. But yeah, they're pretty good at climbing most things, but I think it depends. If they get too big and too heavy, then yeah, it won't be able to support their weight very well.
I've got another one here.
Excellent, go for it.
What type of insects does a mandrill eat?
Wow, what type of insects does a mandrill eat? You're going to really test us there. That's a really good question. Okay, well, mandrills live in Africa.
So yeah, they're going to be eating anything that they can find.
So there's probably kind of similar insects in a lot of ways to things that we get here, but they'll just be different species of, different types of. So it'll be things like beetles, grasshoppers. They might eat termites, I don't know, but remember we've seen the chimps here with the termite mound that we've made that they dip the sticks in. We put yogurt and things in it because you can't get hold of termites very easily. But we do feed some of our monkeys at Monkey World. We do get donations of insects. I don't know if any of you guys have got like pet lizards or anything like that, but or know anyone who does, and people buy things like waxworms and crickets and locusts to feed them. And actually we have squirrel monkeys and slow loris who really, really like eating insects. It's one of the most important things in their diet. So they get lots and lots of locusts, crickets, and different types of worms like mealworms and waxworms in their diet, which they really, really enjoy.
yeah. How tall do they grow?
How tall do they
These
grow?
guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say if they were standing up straight on their back legs, I'd say 4 foot something, I think.
Oh,
They're
well.
quite tall like that. So if they were standing up, they'd be as tall as us for sure.
Yeah.
And just like us as well, some of them are just naturally a bit bigger, some of them are naturally a bit smaller. And so you do have that little bit of difference. But yeah, like Hannah said, because they walk over, like Seamus is doing now, his feet are flat on the ground, but he walks on his knuckles because his arms are longer than his legs, because that's one of the things that makes him really good at climbing, having nice long arms that can reach between branches in the trees. they put their weight on their knuckles rather than flat on their palms. And so that's the way that when they're on the ground, that's the way that they move. But of course, they spend a lot of their time climbing. But if you do see them stood up on 2 feet, you don't tend to see them do it for very long. They tend to, maybe they're having a good look at something, maybe they're doing a display to show someone else in the group that they're dominant, you know, they're bigger, more important, stronger than them. So it doesn't last for very long.
Got another one here.
Excellent.
Where does the word monkey come from?
Oh my goodness, do you know what?
Definitely stumped myself.
Yeah,
So-
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. There's only kind of one word that I really know where it comes from, and that's prosimian, which is what the lemurs are and the loris are, because that's it. A lot of these words, they come from Latin, and I didn't go to a school that taught me Latin. But yeah, so I don't actually know where monkey comes from. Yeah, so prosimian, which is what lemurs are, means like first or early ape, because they look like some of the monkeys that evolved first, however many thousands of years ago. But do you know what? That can be one of your challenges to come back and tell me.
Yeah.
See if
Well,
any
I'd
of
like
you
to
can
know.
find out, and you can have made sure you've taught Hannah and me something today as well.
Yeah.
Because we don't know the answer to that one.
Do you reckon humans come from monkeys or not?
Yeah, so certainly I would say it's fair to think that most people at Monkey World probably believe in evolution. I certainly do. Hannah's nodding next to me.
Yeah.
What it means, so it doesn't mean that we once upon a time looked exactly like Seamus here. It basically means that our like great grandparents kind of were the same. But if you think of us, our family is like a big family tree. These different branches came off over all of these millions of years, and because of the different places that we lived, the different foods that we ate, the different ways that we started to live in our families, we evolved and we changed. And so we ended up as animals that didn't need hair, because we evolved to live in houses and do things where we didn't have to have our babies clinging on to us all the time. But we also lost that ability to climb. Just move as I can't see Seamus anymore. We lost that ability to climb like these guys did because we moved out of the forests. So although there's things that we've gained, there's also things that we've lost. And yeah, that we have all ended up a little bit different from each other, and in some cases very, very different from each other. Now, because I never normally come over those steps, Charlie's come straight back out to wonder why on earth I was going somewhere that I don't normally go. But I realised where I was looking, we couldn't see Seamus very well anymore. Now, you might get a little bit of a better look at the enclosure as well here, that you don't normally see. See how big that climbing frame is?
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes when we come and I can't see anyone, it's because I'm normally stood over there, and so there's all of this that comes all the way around here, and it even kind of just carries on just behind the house. So these guys, even if they want to be outside, they still don't have to be on show to the public. If they don't want to, they can get away from where people are, and be a little bit more private anytime they want.
I've got another question.
Excellent, go for it.
How smart is a monkey compared to a human?
Wow, now that's a good question. Hannah, what do we think?
It depends on the species, I think. I think apes are definitely more clever. I think just because they're more closely related to us, like Annie was telling you about. But some species of monkey are also very clever as well. I think it's safe to say here at Monkey World, the most cleverest monkey we have here is definitely the capuchin. They are kind of similar to chimps in a lot of ways. A lot of us keepers here at Monkey World say they are smaller chimps because they're just as clever. They also use tools just like chimps do. Their families and their hierarchies and groups that they're in are very similar to chimps. So yeah, I'd say it depends on the species, but they can be very, very clever.
Do you ever give them puzzles to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So we give them lots of enrichment, lots of different types. It could be sounds, smells, food, but their favourite is definitely the food ones, and we do often put them in puzzles. It's quite a hard job coming up with new things to keep them busy and keep them entertained. But yeah, they definitely love a puzzle feeder the most, I'd say.
How often do they go for a medical?
It depends if they're poorly or not. We do a lot of training here with our animals, with not only the apes but the monkeys as well. Most of them are all trained to show certain body parts to us, so we can check any injuries, check if they're a bit poorly. We can get them closer to us so that we can give them medication. So we only really would take them to the vet hospital if it was something very serious, which luckily is very rare and not very often.
I've got another
many-
one for you. Oh, go on,
Go
Graham.
for it.
How many years training do you have to do to become like you?
So the way that I went, I didn't go the school way.
Yeah.
I didn't go to university or do any qualifications or degrees. I got all of my experience from volunteering. So I started many years ago volunteering at my local zoo when I was
Yeah.
quite young. I started just volunteering on my weekends, and then eventually I just got a job at a zoo, and kind of gradually worked my way up there. And then I wanted to work with primates the most because they fascinate me the most and I enjoy
Yeah.
working with them the most. So I just got loads and loads of experience working with primates, first volunteering and then slowly, gradually working my way up. And then I made it to Monkey World.
I've got another one. It's a double question really, but how many ribs does a monkey have, and how many bones does a monkey have?
Wow.
I think it's only very slightly different to us.
Sorry, guys, I've just fiddled my
Yeah.
camera and
And
made it go the wrong way. There we go. Sorry.
Charlie, do you know how many bones you have?
He's nodding, but he's not telling us the
Not
answer.
really telling us. No, I think that's another one we're gonna have to get them to tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I know we have the same amount of teeth, but yeah, bones and ribs, I would expect it's very
Yeah,
similar, if
I
not
think
the
rib
same.
cage is only slightly different, but I think everything else. I may be wrong, but I think from looking at all the X-rays I've seen, their ribs are slightly different because obviously they walk over like that. I don't think they have as many rib
Yeah.
bones as us, but fingers, hands, feet, and everything are pretty much identical to ours.
Awesome. I suppose maybe as well the bones, those vertebrae, those bones that make up your spine, that maybe is different as
Yeah.
well, because
Yeah.
it's the shape of our spine that's one of the things that makes us walk up on 2 feet and these guys not. So, but it might be that they have the same amount. Again, this is going to have to be something that we check out, I think, afterwards. That's a really, really cool question. That's a really good one.
I think Charlie wanted to show them.
I'm just getting them off Google, you know.
Right, I'm just giving Hannah the get a bit closer.
It's going to show us our teeth. Look at those teeth.
Wow.
Oh,
You can see how big his teeth are, guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
hello,
what's it- what
Dustin.
you did with your hands, Hannah?
So I'm just giving him a visual cue to ask him to open his mouth so I can get a good look at those teeth.
Oh,
And then because he did such a good job, I can give him a treat. And he's happy with that. So that's a good example of how these guys are trained to, so that really helps us to look after these guys.
You just give him
Especially
a polo mint?
Yeah, I gave him a
Yeah.
sneaky polo. Just as a treat for today, for showing off for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, Hannah, what kind of things maybe might you be looking for, particularly when you're looking at someone like Charlie's teeth? What kind of problems might they have with their teeth? What kind of things do you have to look out for? Because obviously we go to the dentist, but these people like Hannah, they act a bit like the dentist for these guys, doing all of these regular checkups.
Yeah, so the biggest one is teeth decay. Obviously, like we brush our teeth every day, make sure we're flossing. Like Kenny said, we go to the dentist and get them professionally cleaned. Obviously, these
Yeah.
guys don't have that. So we definitely have to keep an eye on teeth decay, make sure none of their teeth are rotting, because it can be quite painful, and chimps are known to hide their pain because they like to always seem big and strong and that they don't feel pain. So it's quite hard for us to tell if they do have toothache. So one of the signs is they might stop eating because it hurts their teeth. They might be quite whiny and whingy, a bit like when babies are teething. They might cry a bit more, or spend a bit more time on their own. So it's really helpful that if we notice any of those behaviours, we can go over and ask them to see their teeth. And then it's quite obvious when they've got a bit of problems because there'll be quite a bit of swelling around their gums, just like we would get. And you can quite obviously see the decay. But these guys obviously sometimes do get their teeth cleaned by us as well. They are particularly fond of a toothbrush.
Oh,
So they will actually allow us to brush their teeth as well. So every few months, the chimps do get like a routine checkup where their teeth are just brushed. Usually it's full of hair, which sounds a bit funny, but just where the chimps groom each other, sometimes they get a lot of hair stuck in between their teeth, which we go in with a pair of tweezers and remove for them. So it's really helpful for them to do that behaviour and show us their nice pearly white teeth, so we can keep them nice and healthy. Yes.
oh,
There you go. But you didn't really think the keepers would be brushing their teeth as well as getting
oh.
tweezers and pulling
Oh.
bits of hair out of there as
I've
well.
got one for you.
Yep.
What do monkeys do for fun?
Oh, look, make trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make our lives hard.
Yeah.
No, their biggest way to have fun is play, just like us.
Nice.
These guys, the Bachelor group, are quite well known for being the boisterous boys. They do like a bit of a wrestle match, but in a nice way. They quite often play chase, so you might see them running around, and you know they gently tap each other, a bit like us playing tag. And they'll also sit there and groom each other and spend time with each other, which can be quite fun as well. But yeah, play is definitely the biggest one.
Oh, bless.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well, I think it's about the time we should I'm probably going to have to head away from the chimps. I've got, because at about 2 o'clock, David's booked, David and Nicole have booked an extra long session for you.
Are you going to show us? Are you going to show us the white ones? And
Well, I'm going to show you someone today that we haven't been able to see, because as well in getting special permission to have Hannah with me and come and talk to the chimps, I've got some special permission. We're going to catch up with Elle, who looks after the lemurs, at 2 o'clock, and we're going to actually go into their enclosure that we haven't been able to go in, so we're going to see them. But on the way, I thought perhaps we'll stop and see some woolly monkeys, and see some capuchins and say hello to those guys. Perhaps if Hannah's got time, she'll come and say hello to the woolly monkeys with us as well, because Hannah's, as well as the chimps, Hannah's worked lots with the woolies, so perhaps she can answer some of your questions about those guys as well. It's such a nice, lovely day. It's much nicer for me and Hannah to be out and about chatting to you guys. Say goodbye to Seamus and Charlie than being in our offices. Let me just find which of my many pockets has my keys in. Thank you, Hannah.
you have many visitors come to Monkey World?
We over the year we have lots and lots of people come. We have thousands of people come to Monkey World every year. So we're just getting to the time of year now where it's starting to get a little bit busier because the weather's getting better. Just seen Hannah do one of the very, very important one of the very, very important bits that keepers have to do, which is making sure things are locked, because we have to make sure that the park is safe for our visitors to come round, and also it is safer for the animals to make sure that things are locked. And actually no one who thinks it might be fun to go through a gate and go up to a fence and say hello to them can, because actually of course it could be very, very dangerous to them. They might try and feed the animals something that they're not meant to eat. So we've always got to make sure things are really well locked behind us. So we're coming down the hill here, where we've come down before to see some of the woolies. So let's come and have a look if anyone's at Lavar's group. Now I think
It's how they are, because
so I don't know if you heard what Hannah said then. She said, but you can tell that the woolies are in this part of the enclosure, or at least some of them are, because Ash, one of the chimps whose enclosure is next door, is over on this side. She obviously likes to keep an eye on her woolly monkey neighbours. So who have we got then, Hannah?
So we've got Lavar, who's just gone up the mesh there. He's probably going to get ready to do a big display and show us just how strong and impressive he is. Because this is Lavar's group in here. I think there's 9 in total, including all the babies. So we've got a few youngsters in this group. He's just paused. He's thinking about it, and then he's got distracted halfway. But I think one of the youngsters has spotted us. But is he going to come over? Is the question.
Oh yeah, we've got a few. Yeah, really good timing, guys. So whether or not they've heard Hannah or we've just lucky time. So that noise, actually Hannah making her woolly monkey noises. So it's her basically saying hello in woolly monkey. There we go. So what is happening here is it Junior? He's just come over. So he's come over all excited. He's kind of crashed down because what he's done is it's a big snuffle greeting. So he's come over. It's a really big hello, and it's a nice reassuring hello that he's coming over and showing he's being friendly, because these big boys, they know that they can be very dangerous. They've got big sharp teeth. So it's a way of showing everyone that, yeah, no, I'm not running at you to scare you off. I'm running at you to be friendly. We did have Leroy. How old's Leroy now? Is he 3 yet?
Almost 3.
Almost 3. He was just here, but there's a lot of crashing around from some of the bigger monkeys going on. So he kind of got out of the way then. And then I'm not very good at telling who. So this is Levi. Thank you, Hannah. So this is Leroy's little brother. So he's just turned 1.
Yes.
And so he's showing off, in fact, even better than him, his big brother. Look, he's showing off just how agile they are. And you see how they're using their tails to hold onto the fence, hold onto the ceiling as they climb. So remember, these guys have got those fully prehensile tails. There you go. Here's Junior. All close up. Actually, he's eating the same thing as the chimps are eating. So, because all of the monkeys, they eat all the same things all the time, Hannah, as each other?
Yeah, pretty much. The only thing that changes is you might have to alter it slightly if it's a smaller monkey. So even the tiny marmosets would also get this pellet, but it's quite often soaked in water to make it nice and soft, because obviously their teeth aren't as big and strong as like the woolies or the chimp's teeth. But other than that, they pretty much, all the primates here, the majority of them eat the same sort of foods.
Oh,
Wow.
oh, you've got a cute face.
He's
Yeah,
got
it's
many baby bees in this group.
Yes, actually, there's probably the most babies in Laval's group. So we just met Levi and Leroy, and we've got little Benita just on the floor. She's eating some pellets.
Oh,
So yeah, we've got 3 babies in this group.
So how old do they get to, Hannah, before you stop thinking of them as babies? When do they become, I don't know,
I would say
children, teenagers, whatever?
I think 4 to 5 years old. Yeah, with the boys, definitely more about 4 years. That's when they start bulking out and getting their big muscles and looking big and chunky like Junior. Whereas the females take a little bit longer, and they're a bit more long and lanky for a little longer than the boys. So they're more about 5 or 6 before they fully mature.
So you can see with Junior here, those put his chin on his hands. There we go. You see his head he's got these kind of big, like jowly bits under his chin. His head has got this kind of almost like line down the middle. They get these beautiful, big kind of square, almost square shaped heads. But the girls don't get them. The girls, the light's not quite in the right place to show you who's up there at the moment. But yeah, the girls' heads stay, well, almost a little bit more like how Leroy's is at the moment. See, it's kind of more like a round shaped head, whereas, and then when he gets a bit bigger, his head will get into this big shape that Junior's is at the moment. And so these were the guys, when we had that question about any of them living in the Amazon, these are some of them, those monkeys that you would find in the Amazon. And so these tails that they have are particularly important in living in the rainforest, because, well, Hannah can tell us a little bit more about how it helps them to keep safe and how it helps them to find food.
So their tails are really important. Basically, think of them as like having an extra arm or an extra leg, and they're very handy. As you can see, some of them are actually using their tail to hold onto the mesh as they move. Just to feel safe, they like to always have their tail attached to something to make sure that they're not going to fall down. It helps them to feed by, if they curl their tail around a branch, it means their other limbs, their legs and their feet, are free to dangle and pick up any food that may be on the floor or on lower plants down.
Excellent.
Do you ever release any back into the wild?
With these guys, unfortunately, these ones, particularly the ones living at Monkey World, wouldn't be able to go into the wild, just because they wouldn't survive very well. Captivity is sort of all they've known, and they wouldn't really know how to search for food, how to survive. and things like that. But what we do here at Monkey World is obviously we've studied them for many years, and we know how to look after them and how they breed well. And we give this advice to rescue centres in South America that actually do have rehab and release sort of schemes. So we're helping them to look after their woolly monkeys that they've had to rescue and get back to good health. And then they are able to release their woolly monkeys. So even though these guys won't ever go into the wild, they still are actually helping their woolly monkey cousins out in South America.
Mm.
Try and show you. We've got one of the kids climbing on the bamboo at the back.
Oh,
They use it. This is when you're talking about asking about what they do for fun. This is one of the things you see the little woolies doing quite a lot. Where they go up and they really use it, almost like a big like bungee rope in a way. They kind of go up and bounce up and down.
Yeah. How's
feet and tail.
oh god. No. But Barney, how's the couple going the ones we ready so but in the wind but in the drum on one of the zoom tours.
So how are the ones we saw in the window? Do you say the couple?
Yeah.
Oh well, we're just next door to them. Should we go and see if we can see them? So let's have a little look. So they're doing really, really well. Let's see if we can see them outside. So they're very, very happily. If they're people, they'll probably be a married couple. I think Tien's just coming out. I think I just saw black arms in the tunnel. So they're doing really, really well. Luckily for Kim and Tien. So Kim is the girl, Tien is the boy. No news is good news, really. Nothing's really changed for them. Life has continued to be very, very happy. There we go. Here he is.
Yeah.
There he goes. So when you guys were asking about do any of our monkeys go back into the wild, Hannah was explaining why the monkeys at Monkey World wouldn't do very well going out into the wild because they wouldn't know how to find food themselves. And then here's his wife. There you go. Here she is Kim. We do have a centre in Vietnam though, where we rescue gibbons like Kim and Tien, the same species, the golden sheep gibbons. And because though they've been taken from the wild, people haven't taken them out of that country that they belong in. And so we have a rescue centre there where we can rehabilitate them, so teach them how to be wild again and then get them back into the forest. But it can take a really, really long time, because you remember how Hannah was saying how intelligent these guys are. There's an awful lot for them to learn. So for gibbons, sometimes it's years from the point of them coming in. If they're only a baby that's been taken from the wild and someone's been keeping them as a pet, we have to wait till they're an adult and they're big enough, strong enough and clever enough to go back into the forest and live like a proper gibbon. But you can really tell that the weather's getting nicer because as Hannah and I have come round, everybody's outside at Monkey World at the moment. We have had we didn't have as much snow as you guys, but we did get a little bit. But we've kind of had a nice warm sunny day, then a cold wet day, and we've got back to kind of the warm sunny days again, which is great.
I've got a monkey.
Yep.
That's my monkey up there.
Oh, hang on, let me see. I've got myself big. Hang on, let me see you. Where are you? Where's your monkey? Show me your monkey. Oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
Have they got a name?
I think it's Gran or something, I think.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that. It's a bit different. Normally we get I'll meet lots of people and their monkeys are called things like monkeys. So it's a nice, more inventive name that you've
Excuse me, you know what we have around here as well? We have a man called the Monkey Man.
The Monkey Man? Who's the Monkey Man?
He walks around town and plays music out loud, and then he dresses up in all different kinds of uniforms and stuff, and he has a monkey in his pram as well.
There's a monkey in his pram?
Whereabouts
is that?
Not a real one, but
not a real one.
I did know it is, and He's really good fun. He cheers everyone up in. I didn't know when he's walking around.
Oh, well, that's really good. And it's a really positive thing as well that, he knows to do it with not a real monkey, because, years ago, people used to have real monkeys with them as they went round in towns and played music. And although people like to see it, unfortunately, that's the kind of places where we rescue monkeys from, because it might seem very nice, but you see how these guys like to live in their big groups, like to have all that fun that we're talking about. And you don't get to do it when you're being kept as someone's pet or being used as entertainment. So that's really good that he does it with a toy monkey rather than a real one, and great that he's able to cheer everybody up as well.
Hannah, was many monkey kids rescued from Wales?
Any monkeys rescued from Wales?
Off the top of my head, not sure, but I'm pretty certain marmosets maybe.
Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
probably because
Yeah.
we've rescued those marmosets. So Nicole, you like TikTok, don't you? That's who you
Yeah.
particularly really like. So TikTok didn't come from Wales, but we have had marmosets come from all over the UK. Our Passus monkeys did come from Wales. They came from a zoo in Wales that closed down. Unfortunately, where they are is where I completely lose signal. So perhaps I can try and send you some photos of those guys, Nicole, because basically if I try and go down there on a Zoom tour, my camera just dies because and you'll lose me on Zoom. But yeah, other than that, I can't think if we've had anybody else come from Wales. But yeah, so do all of you guys live in Wales, or are you all a little bit around and about?
Yeah,
Oh.
all of us
North and
are
south.
from Wales.
Owen Bay.
Ah, excellent. I don't know about Wales very well.
I'm from South Wales.
South Wales, okay. We do have, we've definitely got at least one Welsh keeper though. In fact, we've definitely got at least two Welsh keepers actually. So perhaps one day we'll see if we can introduce you to Sarah or Sharon. Because they'll be able to tell you all about Wales as well, where they've come from. Bear with me 1 second, guys. My camera's just doing that thing where it doesn't want to zoom in and out.
Yeah. How's the Simon Gibbons? Can we see them at some point? Or?
Unfortunately, they're also down in that place right at the bottom of the park where my signal disappears. But they're very, very good. And to be honest, they're very, very difficult to see. So Sam is the one who came from Ireland, and then Sasak is his mate. And they can be really quite tricky to see sometimes. Now you've seen Kim and Tien, they stay up in the trees, and that's what gibbons are meant to do. But Sam and Sasak, basically, you either don't really see much of them because they like to stay away from people, or on a very rare occasion, when it's really, really hot and sunny, you might actually see them doing something gibbons should never do. And that's they basically have a sunbathe on the grass. But that's because they feel so safe at Monkey World. In the wild, they wouldn't come down from the trees because it just wouldn't be natural to them. It's where they're vulnerable to predators. And so that's where they wouldn't they would stay. Right, well, it's about the time I need to wander over towards the lemurs. Now, Hannah, you're very welcome to come with us and join us if you've got time, or if you need to go back, that's absolutely fine. But I thought, guys, perhaps as it's going to take Hannah and I a couple of minutes just to walk up there, why don't I just turn the video off for a minute, put myself on mute for a minute, and then if you want to go and grab a drink, go to the loo, anything like that, because it's a long session, and basically I'll turn it all back on in 5 minutes, but I won't end the call or anything like that. How does that sound?
Yeah, it's fine.
Bye.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'm based in 5 minutes, about 2 o'clock. I'll turn my camera and microphone back on. All right.
Yeah.
Nice one. Okay. See you in a moment, guys. Go and have a comfort break and things.
Yeah, okay. Should I pause?
Pause the recording. Just pause.
Down there after.
Right, guys, Hannah's had to go back to the office, but this is Elle, one of our colleagues who works with the lemurs, the marmosets. Elle Nicole, one of the people who is on the call, loves TikTok. That's one of her absolute faves. So
But
So-
Banane can coming down soon.
And she's coming, yeah, she's coming down soon, coming down in July. That's it. So we've had lots and lots of Zoom tours.
Nice.
So this is our lemur enclosure that I know you guys have been wanting to see. Elle's been especially helpful today. And look, here we go. Here's some of the lemurs. Now,
We've got Hamal on the right over here. So you can identify Hamal really easy because he's got kind of yellowy eyes and a little scar that's just by his eye.
Mhm.
Oh,
there we go.
He's a very sweet boy.
Mm.
Very sweet boy. So he was born in 2001. So you're fairly old now, aren't you, buddy?
And then who we've got on the left hand, your
We've
left
got
hand.
Indiana. So Indiana, again, he's really easy to identify just based off of his tail. So you'll see some of the hair on his tail is missing. And you can always liken it to the Indiana whip.
There you go. Can you see that?
oh
Hasn't
yeah.
got quite as much hair on the bottom of his tail.
Yeah.
So normally in previous years, when people have come to Monkey World, they've been able to come in here and walk around just like me and Ella. Like Elle, it's really important that when we do have the public in, you always make sure that someone's in here. Make sure that no one's doing anything they shouldn't do, like trying to feed the lemurs. I'm going to let Elle's going to do some feeding over here with the guys, so I'll let Elle do it.
We've got Boss Lady.
So this is Fennel. So Fennel is in charge of the group. So with lemurs, they're a little bit different to some of the other primates at Monkey World where boys quite often are in charge. Here, it's actually the girls. So Fennel is our leading lady in this group. And we've got others around here as well. So the way this bit works is, so we have a fence kind of behind these trees that comes around. It's a big woodland enclosure, but then we also have a smaller enclosure within the trees in here. So when it's bad weather overnight, the guys can get shut in here, and so they have a nice safe place to sleep that's safe, that's dry, and particularly because there's so many trees around, if there's a storm, they're in somewhere that's nice and protected. They're not going to be snoozing up in the trees somewhere, and they come down. So what did you just give them to eat, Elle?
So we just gave them some bran flakes, very unusual scatter probably to what you've heard, but it's actually really good for them. It's low in sugar, it's low in all the bad things basically, but it's high in fibre and it's high in iron, and it makes a really good scatter, low in calories, so you can give quite a few of them over kind of a short space, and it'll take them a while to find them all off the floor. So it's quite a good activity to give them. Again, we've got Indiana. We've also got our oldest lemur out today called Renton. So he was born in 1999. Pretty much our whole group are full of ancient lemurs, to be honest. Our youngest were born in 2013. So not exactly young themselves.
Well, how long do lemurs normally live for, Elle?
So on average, lemurs normally live till 20 to 25 years old.
Oh,
Our oldest lemur was born in 1999, so.
Mhm.
I can't remember if we ever saw them together, guys. We had a lemur called George who lived here, and George actually ended up, how old was he? Like 36?
It was 36 here, I think. I mean, we couldn't prove it necessarily with actual facts, but we think he was one of the oldest lemurs in the world. The only other documented lemur was 36, the same.
Wow.
So we think he was one of the oldest in the world.
So it's a bit like when I think we've talked about it when some of our other tours, when we've talked about the orangutans and the chimps.
Yeah.
So Monkey World, these guys can live a little bit longer because they have healthcare, so they have vets, doctors, dentists who look after them. But really, they're protected here. Lemurs in Madagascar, where these guys come from, their forests are being cut down, they're burning down. Whereas the guys here, they've got this safe woodland to live in for the rest of their life, and it's going to be nice and protected. So that is why you tend to see some of them living a little bit longer, perhaps when they're at Monkey World.
oh,
How many do you have as a group?
So currently we have 8 individuals as a group,
We have one female fennel that runs the group as the matriarchy, and then we also have the 7 boys underneath her. That are all ruled by one female.
Okay, so 7 boys all doing what this one lady wants them to do. So yeah, a little bit different from what often happens in some of the groups that we have at Monkey World. And we've been talking about it getting sunnier, and you start to see some of our lemurs really enjoying the sunshine, because lemurs it's not quite what we've got here, but you see the lemurs sitting a little bit like that sometimes, but they really kind of spread their arms and they do this proper sunbathing, and they just absolutely properly worship the sun. So these guys they'll be really pleased that it's getting warmer, it's getting sunnier.
Are they related to monkeys or more like cats?
So they are actually what we call prosimians. So they still come under the umbrella of primates, but they are not monkeys and they aren't apes, they're actually prosimians. So the factors that make them prosimians are things such as they've got a grooming claw on their hands, similar to the loris that we have here at the park. They also have a tooth comb-like teeth, which is used for grooming. So they have some factors that make them prosimian.
So they're related to monkeys, but it's a bit like they're a monkey's cousin,
yeah,
I suppose.
It's Jeremy explained it to me the other day. Prosimian basically means pre-monkey, so it's believed that they do have some form of relation to a monkey, but yes, they belong to a whole different family.
And it's interesting you said they're more like cats, because there is stuff about them that looks more like cats, isn't there? Like their nose is more pointed, whereas a lot of our monkeys, their faces are flat. And so it's because as well, one of the things that makes them a bit different is they use their sense of smell a lot more than, say, the woolly monkeys who we've seen. They use their eyesight a lot of the time to kind of see, to sense what's going on around them, where they need to go, what's safe, what's not safe. And these guys have a nose that's almost a bit more like a dog, really. It's kind of pointed snout, wet nose, and it's really good at sniffing everything out, better than the monkeys and apes than we've seen around the park. So they've got some of their own kind of special skills that those monkeys and apes don't have. So Justin, Elle, if you do need to go, and I do have my keys with me, but if you're happy to stay, would love to have you, but don't feel that you have to. If you've got other bits you need to do. So now, one of the most amazing things I think about these guys is their tails, of course. So perhaps Elle can tell us a bit more about what their tails are for and what they use their tails for.
So they have a few uses of their tails. So I guess you can probably see that the lemurs are on the floor right now. So lemurs are one of very few species of primate that spend a lot of their time, 20% of their time is spent on the floor. The rest of the time they're up in the trees. But their long tails on the floor are used as sort of like a flag mark. So they will move along the floor quadruply in Madagascar, and the tails will highlight to the rest of the group where they are. They also used it in what we call stink fighting, which is very impressive to watch. So as I was saying earlier, they have, I don't think I did mention it earlier, they have a scent gland on the inside of their arm, and they will rub their tail on the scent gland on their arm, and basically what they'll then do is they'll flick the tail over their head, and it will send all the smells and pheromones to their rival, and that's what we call stink fighting. So that's normally the build up to quite a big fight. That's them just saying, back off, otherwise I'm going to come and I'm going to give you a bit of a slap. Their tails are really quite something special. Obviously, it says to predators, it sends them a warning signal as well. You'll see they always keep it high up in the air unless they're sat down and comfortable. So yeah, their tails really are quite amazing, and the stink fighting, hopefully we won't see it because they're all friends.
There'll be some trouble if we see stink fighting started to happen.
If you get a chance to maybe Google it, it's interesting. Just to watch them rubbing their scent glands on their tails and almost wafting the invisible little pheromones that go towards their rivals.
That's a fact. I think you might, even if you'd probably have to look quite far back, but I think we might have even posted a video of the stink fight on YouTube, our YouTube channel or our Facebook page at some point, that someone managed to, a visitor managed to record years ago. And it kind of doesn't look like much in a way, but you see just what Elle described, where they kind of rub their tails around their wrists and then they flick them over their heads. Luckily, it doesn't come to full blown fighting afterwards. But yeah, they definitely kind of, it's one of those things where you go, yeah, someone's won somehow. But that's it. It's telling someone to back off, but without using their words, they use smells instead. So I'm not very good at telling you who's who with the lemurs, but there is someone I can tell you. In fact, there's two that I do know who they are. That's Renton, who Elle was saying is our oldest lemur. Renton's missing one of his ears, and he's got a bit of a saggy tummy, so he's a little bit easier to pick apart. And we have someone called Al as well, who was actually kept as a pet, and his tail, unfortunately, we don't know exactly how it happened, but it got broken at some point. His tail doesn't stand. And yeah, so there you go, there's Renton kind of at the back, just there.
You can never miss Renton.
No, that's it, you can't miss Renton. We've been talking a lot about what the chimps eat, what the woolly monkeys eat. Do the lemurs eat anything differently to the rest of the other guys we maybe have talked about?
Probably not. So they are omnivorous like the rest of the species here at the park. So they get a lot of leafy, a lot of root vegetables, but because they're also omnivorous, they receive insects as well. Also, a good way of getting protein into them is eggs, which they actually have got today, which I'm sure they'll be happy about because they love eggs.
There we go. I don't think we've heard about anyone having eggs so far. So it's something that I know some of the other guys do have as well. But yeah, something we haven't talked about so far.
Yes, our lemurs love hard-boiled eggs, scrambled eggs. Haven't got time for poached, but
that's it. So good.
They have them fried eggs, but
I'm sure they would love fried eggs. However, it's very time consuming to cook up so many eggs for all of them. And also, I suppose if you fry the eggs, you have to fry it in oil. And oil's not very good for the lemurs.
That's true, because you think all those things that we like, that we know are a bit naughty for us, obviously it's much easier for us to make sure that the guys have a really healthy diet, because it's Elle and the team who make sure that what they eat is really healthy. So all those kind of treats that we like, I mean, the guys do get treats, but it tends to be more things like perhaps a particularly specially sweet type of fruit that they don't normally get. Sometimes we use things like sugar-free jelly or peanut butter for kind of food for fun for some of our primates. But yeah, I bet they would absolutely love a fried egg. But it would take Elle an awful long time to cook up enough eggs. Putting lots of eggs in their shells in the pots and hard boiling them is much, much easier than doing a big old batch of fried eggs for them.
Yeah.
So I learned a really cool fact of the day that there's over 100 different species of lemurs.
Wow.
And actually the ringtail lemurs are the ones that are found at both the highest and the lowest altitude all over Madagascar. So they can withstand the heat and they can withstand the cold. So it makes them a very special species of lemur.
That's 100 different types of lemurs. You only find them on Madagascar, which is part of Africa, but it's an island. So you've got so many different types of these primates are just in this one place. So unfortunately, it doesn't.
I want to do a safari in South Africa.
Oh, that would be amazing. So South Africa, you might see, there's lots of really cool monkeys you might see in South Africa. You wouldn't see lemurs, but you might see things like vervet monkeys, you'd see baboons. That would be really cool. Yeah, that would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So handsome.
They are gorgeous. And so
Sirius and Indiana are actually twins.
there we go. So I don't know if you heard that. Elle was saying, so Sirius and Indiana, and they're actually twins.
They're twin brothers, born in 2001.
Born in 2001. Because we tend to get twins more with lemurs, don't we, Elle, than some of the other monkeys and apes. It's a lot more common that the lemurs have twins, whereas with the other monkeys and apes that we have, it's nowhere near as common. So it's obviously the lemur mums are particularly good mums. Can handle two babies, and perhaps do they grow up a little bit quicker than maybe some of the other primates, or do you think that there's a reason why they are a bit more suited to having twins?
I've never really known the reason as to why. I
Mm.
don't think there's any form of adaptation to having 2 babies over one.
Yeah.
But yeah, the babies do grow up very quickly and become less independent on their mum than perhaps some of the different species of primates.
Are they really small when they have babies?
Yes, fairly small. Got the average weight of a baby when they're first born. But yeah, but very small, very small, clinging on to mum straight away.
Mm.
And like I said, well, like Annie said, there's normally two babies that'll be clinging on to mum.
So mum's got her hands full when she does have babies.
Yes.
Mm, mm. How much do they weigh?
It's a very good question. So on average, lemurs weigh around 2 kilograms. Now we have some here that weigh over that, but that's just because they overindulge. They've got a huge forest as well. The trees, they produce a lot of seeds and a lot of buds that the lemurs eat. So not only do our lemurs have the diet that we give them, but they actually forage quite a lot throughout the forest for, bugs as well. So unfortunately, ours are a little bit overweight just because they have food surrounded by them as well. So
that's it. Even though there's squirrels and birds and things that live in here, yeah, they haven't got that much competition for all the food that Elle gives them, and as well, like I said, the stuff that grows. So
Is their enclosure? Is their enclosure? Is it encaged or is it just open the whole park?
So it's open. So where we've seen other enclosures where the fence has got those bits of metal at the top that kind of curve over. I can't see it, but there you go. I can show you from this on the side there. See that metal over the top? It kind of curves in. So it means that if the lemurs climb up the fence, they can't climb up and over the top. That bit of metal comes too far in. But what Elle has to do, and the other guys that work with the lemurs, they have to look really carefully at all of these trees that grow around the edge, because of course they're very good at climbing, and so they have to work really closely with our maintenance team, our grounds team, and if any of the tree branches start to make a nice little ladder for the lemurs to be able to get out and go and have a wander around and go and visit the orangutans at the nursery, we make sure that those branches get taken back, and then they'll get used as well in other places. They might put them like here, like where we've got branches climbing around, so the guys then use them. They don't just go to waste. They're used to either make more climbing frames for the guys, or so they can eat the leaves. We try not to waste anything like it if we do have to do some maintenance work with it. Fabulous. Have you guys got any final questions for Elle? Because she's a very, very busy lady, and so I want to kind of
how long have you been looking after the primates?
I've been working at Monkey World now for 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I came just as we hit lockdown with COVID, so it wasn't very good timing. Oh
no.
And you worked with primates before Monkey World as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did work with primates, but I worked with over 1,000 different species, so I was very lucky. And then when I moved to primates, I just moved to Monkey World. I just specialised in primates. So
there you go. So we heard. Sorry, carry on.
Did you go to uni or college?
No, I didn't. So I actually started in the industry very young. So I started working in a zoo as a volunteer at the age of 15. I did study zoology at college. But fortunately for me, I built up my experience with working hours rather than a paper qualification. So I've built my career up doing it that way.
There goes. So it's quite similar to what Hannah was saying. I think quite often what happens with people who work with animals, that practical experience is so important, because you can read all the books in the world, but I think it's very different, isn't it, Elle, to actually work with them and learn what it's like to. Because it's a hard job, isn't it? It's very tiring. These guys have long days.
I know.
Busy work. And
you find it rewarding?
Oh, extremely rewarding. I mean, I love working with animals anyway, but at Monkey World it's extra rewarding. As you guys know, we have a lot of animals with very poor history. Being able to rescue them, take them from a sad situation, rehabilitate them, just teach them what it is to be a monkey, and then give them this new lease of life. A lot of them have never stepped foot outside before. And it's just absolutely amazing, really heart fulfilling to give them, the life that they deserve. So yeah, it is rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Well, thank you so much, Elle. We will leave you to get on, but thank you so much for your time.
Well,
Well, thank you.
Okay. Well, so Elle, she's just also going to put some food in here before she comes out. So yeah, we've been extra special, extra lucky today to have this trip into the lemurs. So I'm really pleased you guys are recording as well. So anyone who's not with you will be able to see the lemurs, because everyone's been asking about the lemurs so much. So yeah, it's really special that we've been able to come in and see them, and it's extra special for me because I haven't been in here since lockdown. It's been ages since I've come and seen the lemurs, so it's a real treat for me as well as you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to follow Elle out. You'll see her doing that all important job we saw Hannah doing as well, locking the doors, making sure no one can come out. And then I want to pop over to the orangutan nursery because we've had a new arrival, and I'm hoping I might be able to show you a new face in the nursery as well. So
can't wait.
So you see, we've got signs on here saying don't hold the gates open. When people come in, we have to let them have, it's one door open at a time, so the lemurs can't just all run out and get out. So yeah, thank you so much, Elle. We really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
Well, thank you.
Right, let's come over and see if we can see what I'll do now, because it's just going to be back to just me. I'm just going to, bear with me if I disappear for a second. I'm just going to connect my headphones, so don't worry if my screen goes off. I'm just going to connect my headphones for a second, guys, so I can hear you really nicely. Find where my settings are, my Bluetooth. There we go. Bear
Okay,
with.
just over that rope then.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Jumped over that rope, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So that rope is there because, turn around, you can see me, look at me for a second. So, because this is where people have been, normally the visitors would come in to see the lemurs. So it's a little bit separate. So we've put the rope across so people don't walk up there and then get disappointed that they can't come up.
Okay.
So let's come on over. So it's been so lovely to be able to introduce you guys to some of the team. I'm so pleased that they've been able to take the time to come and chat to you, because obviously you guys have had a few Zoom calls with us. So I'm really pleased to have been able to do this extra special bit. So let's come on over to the nursery and see who's around though. We've actually been doing some work on the fence recently. So the guys haven't been able to come outside for a few days, and they're back with their outside action. Let me just turn my camera back around.
Okay.
I think I can definitely see some people inside. Oh, didn't turn my camera around. Right, let's see who we can see. So we have had a new arrival in the nursery. So if you remember, the nursery, it's a little bit awkward because of the reflection. If you remember, the nursery is here for orangutans like Buju, who's swinging upside down by his feet over in the corner, who have been born at zoos in Europe but have lost their mums. And so they come here to have a foster mum and to be looked after by our team at Monkey World and learn how to be an orangutan because they don't have a mum to teach them. And so there's Bulu doing some forward rolls. So Bulu, who's coming over, who's got a tub in his mouth, who's being very silly and playful at the moment. Hey, good boy. Hey, handsome. Bulu is, hang on, very quickly. That lady just there in the cat, she's one of our keepers from Wales. So that's one of our monkeys from Wales. She's busy at the moment. There she goes. So Bulu here is the oldest, one of the kids in the nursery. Although it's called a nursery. Oh, he's got sprouts in his pot. Just tip that pot out and it's full of sprouts. He's about 8.5 years old. Really showing you his sprouts now. And just behind him is Mimi, who until recently was the youngest in the nursery.
They're going to
Oh,
do a good bit of wrestling. So Mimi is, what's Mimi? Mimi is 7 years old. But we have just welcomed a couple of weeks ago a new little girl to the nursery. Her name is Kyan. Hopefully we might find her, we might see her. We'll have a little wander around and see if we can spot her. She's about 4.5 years old. She was actually born at Twycross Zoo, which is a zoo in, I think it's in the Midlands, in
Yeah.
England.
yeah.
They have lots and lots of primates there. They're well known for having being the only place in the UK where you can see bonobos. So they're very, very similar to chimps, but they're a little bit smaller, a little bit daintier. Booloo's one of Booloo's favourite games at the moment, hanging on by his feet and swinging around. I just move over a little bit so the people can come and see as well. So Kyan, unfortunately, her mum died quite suddenly about last year, and so she's been left without a mum to look after her. So she's come to join our nursery group at Monkey World to get adopted by our foster mum, Oisin, and to meet her new adopted brothers and sisters like Mimi here, who has been a little bit naughty at times. She's been a little bit naughty at times. She's used to being the baby, and someone coming in who's a bit younger, she's kind of pushed her around a little bit at times. But the other 2 kids, Boo and Rika, and their foster mum, Oisin, they've been really, really good at sticking up for their new little girl, telling Mimi off her for being a bit over the top. And she's settling in really, really well. So I'll just have a little wander around outside and see if any of them are outdoors. And we'll just do a little bit of a loop and see if we can see anybody, because I think she was super excited. Today is the first time since she arrived. I think that's her, that she's got to go outside. So let's go and catch up. Yeah, I think that's her. Let's see her. She's quite easy to tell apart from the rest of the guys in the nursery because she's got a really big, kind of floppy fringe. Got a big, big sweepy fringe. Let's come round and see if we can see her. Where is she? Here she is. So let me come to the window. It'll be even easier to see her. I think everybody else has kind of come in and out, and she's gone, no, it's the first time I've been able to go outside in a few weeks. So she's loving it, loving being back in the fresh air. There she goes.
Oh,
There she is.
she's cute.
She's very cute.
Mm.
And she's our youngest orangutan, she's our smallest orangutan. And yeah, she's doing really, really well. We're really pleased that she's settling in so well.
How tall do they grow orangutans?
So they're very similar to the chimps, actually. So like Hannah was saying, if they do stand up on 2 feet, they don't get as tall as some people do.
Yeah.
I don't think they will ever get any taller than probably 5 foot at the absolute most. So at the moment off the ground, she's probably about 2 foot tall, maybe. She is, gorgeous girl.
Oh,
So the boys probably get a little bit taller than the girls, which it often happens with humans, but not always. Some girls are much taller than some boys. But yeah, so yeah, they don't get as tall as us. But some of them can be pretty tall. You see what I mean about a big fringe when she turns round. So we've the chimps of the orangutans. Looking after the orangutans is quite similar to looking after the chimps. All that fabulous stuff that Hannah was telling us about. One of the big differences is that the orangutans don't live in big groups, whereas the chimps do. So the boys that we saw, there's 11 of them living in there, whereas in this group there are, I'm trying to think now, but some of the others are coming out now as well. So there's 5 of them in here.
yeah.
Oisin, the foster mum, and 4 children. And actually in the wild, because all the different monkeys and apes here. Yeah, they do live differently to each other. In the wild, they all do things slightly differently. Orangutans, they don't live in families, really big families like chimps, or families like a lot of people do, where you tend to have 2 parents and their children. Orangutans, all of their mums are single mums. Orangutan mums bring up their children on their own. And the big boys, the males, the dads, they like to have big territories where they wander around on their own a lot of the time. But they'll meet up with the girls and the babies at different periods, kind of spend a little bit of time with them, and off they go again. The fence.
Oh, she's clever.
They're very clever. And look, Diane is doing the same now. She's following him around.
Oh,
Wow.
So for her, having just been here, I think 3 weeks now, she is really getting used to her new home. And she's, unlike some of the monkeys that we rescue, she hasn't been treated badly. She hasn't been kept as a pet. She has lived with other orangutans at the zoo she was born at. But it's probably still quite frightening for her when she first comes somewhere new.
Yeah.
A bit like you think about when you're a kid and you went to school, you started a new school, you had to meet new people. Even now as adults, I think a lot of us probably feel nervous when we have to meet new people or go somewhere we've never been before. And so it's probably been a really, really big change and a big deal for her. But she's been really, really confident, and she's dealt with it all really, really well. Like I said, she's very happy that she's got to come outside, because when they first arrive, they don't go outside straight away. We just take it slowly for them, make sure that they just slowly start to get used to their new surroundings, the new people that they live with, and then they can start to go outside when we feel that they've made some friends, being a little bit more comfortable. So today, a really exciting day for her.
Oh, yeah. How heavy do they weigh?
That's a really good question. So how heavy do these guys weigh? So as adults, if they're a boy, they'll weigh up to about 80 kilos, which is about the same as about 13 stone. And the girls are a bit less. They're more like 50 kilos, which, let me think, can we try and work it out? Probably more like maybe 7 or 8 stone, I guess. So the girls are always a little bit smaller. So I'm not sure how much they weigh when they're Kyan's age, but probably only a couple of stone. They're not very, very heavy. And of course, like we were saying about the chimps with their height, some of them will end up bigger than others. We have some of our adult orangutans, some are quite short and stocky, and others are quite tall and lanky, really long. They've got long arms and legs, long back, really long body shape. Whereas others, a bit shorter. I'm quite a short person. I'm about 5'2", whereas like my colleague who I work with is almost 6 foot. So she's a short woman, I'm a short woman, and then we've got other people who are more like average height, like 5'6", 5'7". So it's the same.
Okay. But I'm 5'9".
Yeah, wow, you're quite tall then, Nicole. Really. So Ali, who's done your tours before, I think she's 5'9". So that's it. So when you do tours with Ali, you see things kind of up here, whereas you see things down here when you have tours with me, because I'm much shorter. So it's always a bit tricky with the orangutans when they do things like they're going up on the windows, because they have to kind of look up a bit more like that.
I think I'm about 6 foot.
You're about 6 foot.
Yeah, I've got a size 11 shoes as well. I have.
Oh, that's it. I go between kind of 5 and 6. So I've done quite well because my mum is 4'11", and her shoes, she's got a size 4 foot. So I've done quite well. I've ended up like 5'2", a little bit taller. bit easier to find trousers that fit you when you're a little bit taller.
Oh.
I thought I'd just come over across the way. And before we get towards the point that we're going to finish up, I thought I'd just show you some of the other gibbons, because we saw Kim and Tien earlier on. So this isn't where those Siamang that we talked about, it's not where they live, but this is Paul. So Paul his species is an agile gibbon. So sometimes, oh, and then here comes Kitty. So Kitty's his mate, hanging at the back. So Kitty looks very similar. She's black and white as well, but she's actually a different species. She's a lark gibbon. So we do have some who actually are slightly different species that live together. Here she comes. Because if we don't have someone of exactly the same species, the most important thing is that they have a friend to live with. They have company. Here she is, bouncing around. Hi, Kitty.
Hi, Kitty.
Hello, good girl.
Hi, Kitty.
Kitty's a proper fluff monster. She's really, really fluffy. Going to go somewhere. Just it's going to be hard for me to see her. There she goes. And then Paul, there he is. Paul loves to hang at the window. And I don't know if you remember what we talked about before. Paul's got the most beautiful face. The gibbons sing. So when they're marking their territory, they really kind of, it sounds like kind of a whooping sort of sound. And Paul will often hang here right in the window, and he'll do it. And he makes lots and lots of noise, and he swings back and forth like a pendulum, and sings a song that tells all the other gibbons that this enclosure is where him and Kitty live. And yeah, it's not for anybody else. I'll just show you that you've got his foot just here. See, he's got that big toe on the sides, that bit like a thumb on our hands. So it helps him hold on to things even with his feet. Cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
He's got the same kind of face as Daniel.
Right.
Oh dear. Is Daniel with us today?
He is, yes. He's just had his hair done, so it looks like him.
Yeah.
Take it as a compliment, Daniel. I think Paul's a very handsome boy.
Here we go, Daniel. You've got a brother.
Well, old is Paul?
How old is Paul? That's a really good question, actually. I'm going to double check. So all of our primates, they've got these signs around. So we think Paul was born during 1996.
Oh,
So,
the same year as me.
there we go. So you know exactly how old he is.
Yeah,
So he's probably
26.
somewhere- That's it, 26, 27, depending on when his birthday is. He's gone upside down now.
Oh.
And so Paul, we rescued him from Taiwan, which is a country over in Southeast Asia, where he was being kept as an illegal pet. And so since he's been here, he's lived with a few other different gibbons, but him and Kitty have lived together for a really long time now. I can't see it very well because I'm short, but you just about see his feet. That was his feet holding onto the hose, and he's done a little flip now. So it's his arms, and his bum's hanging down now. There we go, and he's up the right way again.
Yeah. How much food do they have?
How much food do they have? So
Food.
Fur. Sorry, Nicole. So I mean, these guys are completely covered in it, apart from the palms of their hands, the soles of their feet, that bit on his face, and he's got two little, almost looks like it's their bum cheeks, but it's not. It's two little kind of hard pads on their bum, because where these guys live, I've seen Kim and Tien up in the trees. They'll often sit on the branches, and it's basically nature's built-in cushion, makes it more comfortable to sit on the branches. So they're almost entirely covered in fur, and it's really thick fur as well. They kind of look really, really fluffy. They look much fluffier than, say, the chimpanzees do. The the chimp's body hair. It's that little bit, I suppose, a little bit thinner. It's not as kind of dense on their body, so there's not as many of those hair follicles that their hair grows from.
Do they get fleas?
I suppose they could get fleas. None of ours, as far as I know, have ever had fleas. I think because like a cat or a dog, you'd have to come into contact with another animal with fleas. I suppose if they were going to get anything, it would be from something like the deer that live in the forest around us, that sometimes come into the park and have a walk alongside. And if I just show you, just round the side here, hopefully I won't lose signal. Sometimes it doesn't quite like it over this side. But so you see here, where you've got the path where the keepers walk and the fence here, the gibbons can get their arms through. And so sometimes if there are deer and things around, they will reach their arms through and kind of touch their hair and grab at the deer. So if the deer had anything like fleas or lice, then it could be a problem. But as far as I know, they've never had any. But yeah, they're really good at grooming each other and combing through each other's hair to get any other little bugs and bits of dirt out. Keep each other clean.
Yeah. Well, what food then do they eat?
What food do these guys eat? It's very similar to who we talked about before already. They eat lots of fruit and veg. These guys, they're not very fussed about seeds. We use quite a lot of seeds with the chimps, particularly. These guys, they're not really bothered about them. They like nuts. So we use things like monkey nuts. What else do we use? Walnuts. And so some of them, sometimes they'll get given them in their shells because it's part of that. We were talking about like puzzles. It's almost against nature's puzzle for them, trying to break into the nuts, working out how to get into them. Some of the monkeys in apes we won't give nuts in shells because some of them can't quite work out and they can't come up with the ideas to get them out. So we'll give them the nuts out of their shells. But we use things like hazelnuts, walnuts, cashews, all sorts of things. As long as they're not salted, I think pretty much any nuts we can use. Just see if anyone else is out and about as well.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
How do you medicate them?
That's a really good question. So how do we medicate them? So remember what we saw Hannah doing earlier, where she got Charlie to open his mouth, and she used the signal where she did that.
Oh yeah.
So there's lots of different things that the keepers train the monkeys and apes to do, and so generally it's quite easy. I say that, but you can get them to take food from you. But sometimes, a bit like with children or dogs or cats, you might have to disguise a bit of medicine in another bit of food. So depending on who it is, will depend on what food we hide it in. So some of them, they like it in something like white bread. It's actually a real treat for them. They don't get bread in their diet, so white bread's a real treat. If someone's really unwell, we will pretty much give them anything they want to eat or drink to try and get their medicine into them. So that might even be something like a hot chocolate. So it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen very often. But if you need to get something kind of sugary and sweet along with that horrible medicine, then we can. The other thing that the guys teach them to do, we teach them to come over to the mesh and they press their arm up against the fence, and we can give them injections like that as well. Now, see this chap swinging around here. Now, this is Nini, and she's really agile, but can you see something that's a little bit different with Nini to the others?
Oh, his arm is missing.
That's it. So he doesn't have all of his left arm. Just below the elbow. But did you see still how well he swung through that enclosure and how quick and agile he was? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So Nini didn't have his hand when we first, and so often when these guys are taken from the wild, fingers, toes, hands, and feet, they tend to be the things that get hurt, because Hunters use things called snares, which are like loops of wire. Nina's telling me off. Loops of wire that if your hand or foot gets stuck in it, as you try to get away, the loop gets tighter and tighter. So it can be very, very difficult. And then fingers do get broken or hands get damaged. So I expect when Nini was rescued, there'd been some damage, so they had to sadly amputate it. But look how well he's adapted to life without it. Look, here he goes again.
Yeah.
Victoria, we just saw you, your twin sister.
Very funny.
She was just spit an image of you.
Whatever. It's all right. They have a joke with me every now and again.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, guys, it's coming up to time where I'm going to have to say goodbye to you. Do any of you have any last questions that you'd like me to answer before we say goodbye?
Do you have any space for Victoria?
No,
Do we have any space?
Back it in,
We have
Graham.
lots of space for Victoria to come and visit us.
Oh no,
because
she needs.
Are you
needs
going to be staying in one of them closures, guys?
Shush, the moment I get the David to pop off the moment on my details, my email address.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then, yeah, you can keep us in touch, Nicole, about your visit on the 2nd of July.
Yeah.
Because it was really good to know. Because although unfortunately it looks like I might not be here because I work Monday to Friday, I've got lots of lovely people who I work with, who are volunteers, who could come and see you and show you around a little bit as well, which would be really lovely. Because it's so nice when you get to come, because when you've seen us from afar for so long. So get David to give you your email address, or I'll ask him to give you mine. I'm very happy for you to have my email address, and you've got that recorded as well, that you're allowed to have it. And yeah, we'll talk about your trip to Monkey World in July.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to the Welsh Mountain Zoo tomorrow.
No,
You're going to Welsh Mountain Zoo? Oh, amazing! I've never been to Welsh Mountain Zoo. That'll be really fun.
I've been once, I think, or twice.
Where the where one of the Welsh it was be handy to do it all then. When
our keepers, unfortunately, they're too busy to do tours because I've been really, really lucky that I've managed to have that little bit of time with Elle today. And now Hannah doesn't work with the animals as much as she used to because she does a lot of the admin jobs now.
Yeah.
So she's been really lucky. But perhaps what I will tell Sarah, who's a friend of mine, who's one of our Welsh keepers, that on that day, if she's working, perhaps at least just be able to try and say hello to. She won't be able to take you around herself because she's got too many monkeys to look after.
Yeah,
but I'll try and get her to say hello.
Hannah or someone do it then.
Maybe I'll find out a bit close to time because we could our diaries can change quite a bit up into it. But I will do my very best to see if I can get someone who either you've already met, or get some people who you'll absolutely love to show you around as well.
Yeah. How's my Mike doing?
Mike, he's really good. I saw Mike. When did I see Mike? Yesterday. I think it was yesterday I saw Mike. So Mike doesn't work with us full time anymore. He's kind of semi-retired, but he's still, because he's a good friend of lots of us, and of the primates and of everyone at Monkey World. He comes to visit all the time. So he's really, really good actually. He's had a few problems with his health recently, but he's feeling a lot better. But he's doing really, really well now. He's got some he's doing really well, looking really good. So it's been really nice to see him. He's been able to come and walk around and go and see the monkeys a bit more than he has for a little while. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Fabulous. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. As always. And thank you for picking a nice day where I've got to be out in the sunshine, where it's been warm. And no doubt I will see you all again soon.
It's been sunny here too all day, pretty much. So we're very lucky. I haven't had it rain yesterday, and it's sunny today. So we're lucky.
Sunny as well.
I know. I'm ready for spring now. Don't know about you guys, but I'm ready for it.
Bring on the sunshine. That's what I say.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's a good day because I've had a lovely time out in the sunshine. Right, take care, all of you guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Hey, that was